Welcome back to the Explainer. So, in our previous lesson, we spent a lot of time really unpacking the why of physical activity in health. We looked at the profound systemic benefits it provides to the human body. But as future nutrition and health professionals, just knowing the why isn't quite enough, is it? Today, we're taking a massive step forward. We are moving from theory to practice, taking that why directly into the practical how. We're going to turn those abstract health concepts into a highly actionable clinical blueprint that you can use for yourselves and eventually for your own clients.
Here's a roadmap for today. We'll start with the physical activity blueprint, move into dialing in your intensity, then structuring your fitness plan, and wrap up with strategies for long-term success.
You've already done the hard work of understanding the biological imperatives of movement. You know exactly why it matters. But imagine a client sitting across from you and asking, okay, but exactly how much should I do and how hard should I push? You need concrete answers for them. Okay, let's dive into this and translate those awesome health benefits into actual structured exercise programming.
Starting off with Section 1, the Physical Activity Blueprint.
The foundation of our blueprint comes straight from the standardized guidelines set by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, or the HHS. For healthy adults under the age of 65, the overarching goal is optimal health outcomes through a really balanced approach. On the aerobic side of things, adults need to hit one of two weekly targets, either at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity or at least 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity. Now, what's absolutely vital here is the frequency. These aren't minutes you should just cram into a single exhausting weekend warrior session. Ideally, this time needs to be thoughtfully spread out across the entire week.
But a truly balanced approach isn't just about building a great cardiovascular engine. We also need musculoskeletal strength. In addition to the aerobic work, the HHS recommends muscle-strengthening activities that literally force the muscles to work harder than usual. And this needs to happen at least 2 days a week. Beyond that, bone-strengthening activities are highly recommended. Think along the lines of jumping jacks, balance exercises, and dedicated flexibility work. Doing all this ensures the structural integrity of the body is maintained, right alongside that cardio fitness.
Moving right along to Section 2, dialing in your intensity.
It's one thing to throw around words like moderate or vigorous, but how do we actually measure that out in the real world? Let's establish a clear definition first. Intensity is simply the level of exertion an individual uses to perform a specific activity. Now, you can certainly monitor this qualitatively. You can look for obvious physical signs like a heavier breathing rate or sweat production, perspiration. Those are great biological cues, but in a clinical or programming setting, relying solely on sweat or heavy breathing is honestly a bit too subjective. We need something objective. We need quantitative data.
So, the crucial step here is learning how to calculate intensity clinically. To do this, we use the age-related maximum heart rate, often abbreviated as MHR. Basically, this represents the normal maximum heart rate an individual of a specific age should reach during exercise. And the formula? It is beautifully simple, yet absolutely foundational for your practice. You just take the number 220 and subtract the individual's age. So if you're working with a 20-year-old client, 220 minus 20 means their estimated maximum heart rate is 200 beats per minute. Once you have that maximum heart rate calculated, you can easily find their target heart rate zone. This is the specific range that reflects exactly what moderate intensity means for that unique individual. Generally speaking, moderate intensity is defined as sitting right in the pocket of 50% to 70% of their age-related maximum heart rate. This is the physiological sweet spot we are aiming for when we prescribe those 150 weekly minutes. Now, to know if they're actually in that zone while working out, your clients need to know how to read their own biological gauges. You can walk them through 3 super simple steps. First, have them locate either the carotid artery on their neck or the radial artery on their wrist. Second, they need to count their pulse for exactly 10 seconds. Finally, just multiply that number by 6. Boom! That quick calculation gives them their exact beats per minute, which lets them verify in real time whether they are actually hitting that 50% to 70% threshold.
All right, on to Section 3, structuring your fitness plan.
Now that we've got our measurements and our targets dialed in, we need to build the actual architecture of the workout. A sustainable fitness plan for a healthy adult has to follow a structured sequence to avoid 2 major pitfalls: injury and boredom. Every single session needs 3 mandatory components:
It always starts with a warm-up, about 5 to 10 minutes of stretching or light movement just to prep the body. Next is the workout itself, where you emphasize the type, duration, frequency, intensity, and progression. Finally, you absolutely must end with a cool-down. This is another 5 to 10 minutes of lower-intensity movement, and it's critical for safely transitioning the heart rate back down to its normal resting levels.
Let's look at how this builds over time, because a new program definitely happens in stages. The first stage is initiation, typically during weeks 3 through 6, where the sole focus is really just accumulating those 150 minutes of moderate activity. As the body adapts, we reach the improvement stage around months 5 to 6, where we can gradually increase the intensity and duration. Eventually, a plateau is reached. This is the maintenance stage. The initial goals have been met, and it's time to reevaluate the plan and develop new objectives to keep that client progressing.
But what happens when this structure falls apart? Discontinuing a structured program leads directly to a phenomenon known as detraining. And listen, this isn't just a loss of motivation, it's a cold, hard physiological reality. Detraining is a gradual, biological decline in fitness and a direct reversal of the adaptations the body has worked so incredibly hard to build. Consistency is literally the only antidote.
And finally, Section 4, Strategies for Long-Term Success. So how do you help clients sustain this blueprint in the real world without them burning out or just giving up entirely? Sustainability requires smart tactics. First off, variety is key. Mixing activities, say jogging one day, swimming the next, or maybe playing basketball, prevents boredom, strengthens entirely different muscle groups, and drastically reduces the risk of overuse injuries. Second, look at active commuting. Walking, biking, or even using e-bikes for a commute can significantly improve cardiovascular health while reducing daily stress. Finally, for those who are just starting out, especially if obesity is a factor, the focus should initially be on non-weight-bearing activities. Think swimming or gentle bicycling. This protects the joints while the client builds up a base level of fitness before they transition to weight-bearing exercises later on.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what those options look like in practice. By distinguishing moderate versus vigorous intensity using real-world activities, we can easily see the difference. For instance, ballroom dancing is moderate, while aerobic dancing pushes right into vigorous. Bicycling at a leisurely pace under 10 miles per hour is moderate, but push it over 10 miles per hour and it becomes vigorous. Gardening versus heavy digging. Brisk walking at 3 miles per hour versus jogging or running. Water aerobics versus swimming laps. Having these concrete, relatable examples makes it incredibly easy for clients to visualize their options and pick activities that actually fit their lifestyle and hit their intensity targets.
So, we've successfully mapped out the blueprint. You know the clinical guidelines, you know how to calculate target heart rates, and you understand the structure of a safe, sustainable fitness plan. You have the how. But I want to leave you with a question to ponder. When a client is right in the middle of that moderate intensity bicycling session, what exactly is happening on a cellular level? What invisible physiological processes are actually fueling those exercising muscles? Well, we are going to dive deep into the fascinating biology of energy systems in our very next explainer. I'll see you there.